Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2 between TLO and KiwiKaki, and what an action-packed game that was. Not quite sure. Oh yeah, there's the sound. I actually had my speakers not turned up, but KiwiKaki versus TLO, first game very intense, and TLO was able to take game 1. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure to check it out. Very action-packed game, and here we are on Steps of War. This is going to be game number 2 at MLG Dallas. I will have a couple of the featured series coming out, as including this one, including my own games against Spade, which I thought was very action-packed, especially the first game. And yeah, this is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss, Steps of War. Definitely a map that can favor Zerg early on in the game, especially if the little one decides to go for some kind of an early pull, which he is going for a 10 pull. Oftentimes, if Zergs try to go for, say, a 6 pull or a 7 pull, it forces the Protoss player to block off the ramps with pylons in order to buy enough time to get his zealots out to cover up his ramp. But it looks like TLO will not be opening with that early of a pool, but nonetheless this is quite an early spawning pool, and we can bet to see some early Zergling pressure from TLO. Now, if this game draws out to a late game, I feel like the map starts to favor Protoss, because this map is such a close distance map that that dreaded Protoss push can be extremely difficult to stop. And of course, if the Protoss player decides to hit any of these expansions in the late game, it can be very easy for Protoss to abuse the concaves, abuse the small narrow choke points, and make it difficult for Zerg to get a good surround. Now, it looks like there are 6 Zerglings coming out of the hatchery for TLO, so TLO will be opening with very early pressure. KiwiKaki will have to throw down a second gateway, and if he can throw it off in the right position, I think he should be able to hold this off as long as he has a zealot to cover up the final choke point. But look at this, KiwiKaki will be using that double pylon trick just in case, to buy enough time and make sure that the Zerglings will not be able to rush through his ramp. This is very standard play, and then KiwiKaki will then cancel the pylons, buying as much time as possible so that his chrono boosted zealot can come out. So once that zealot comes out, it should be able to close off this front door. It looks like KiwiKaki, not even deterred, will be throwing up a cybernetics core, and he's just going to depend on his lone zealot to hold this off. I think he should be just fine here. If the zealot, this is the one thing KiwiKaki has to be careful about, is the Zerglings hitting his gateway here. The gateway now losing all of his shields. KiwiKaki throwing up a secondary gateway, and we even have more Zerglings on the way here. But as KiwiKaki gets that second zealot out, I think he should be able to hold off this early pressure. TLO will have to be patient. It looks like he's going to try to get a Roach Warren out instead, and you guys can see though that harvester count difference really favoring KiwiKaki, as he opened a much more standard build, 17 probes, over 11 harvesters. Oh no, KiwiKaki getting a couple of Zergling kills as well. They become flowers apparently once they die, and it's 18 harvesters over 13. TLO is going to have to cook something up. It looks like he canceled his Roach Warren. He was getting a Roach Warren earlier, but he's decided now to drone up, and just like that, that's showing the power of Zerg macro. Zerg players are easily able to close off that economic gap. No matter how far behind you are, you can pump a ton of drones, but then you have to be careful about early pressure from the enemy Protoss player or even Terran players, and that's exactly what KiwiKaki's doing. He's double chrono boosting out units right now, and does TLO have enough forces? He's been droning up. He has to make some attacking units to deal with this. It looks like the Stalker, great micro, keeping it next to the Zealots, keeping the Stalker away from the Zerglings in the as well. And it looks like TLO here, trying to get a surround with his Zerglings, is going to be forced to run all the way back. TLO was also trying to get his hatchery down, but it's not going to be enough. I think this hatchery will be forced to cancel, and KiwiKaki once again throwing that double pylon trick up. TLO will have to cancel this hatchery. Down it goes. And he's going to have to find another way to make this game work. It looks like now the tables have been reversed for TLO, as now he's the one who's walled in, he is the one who's been contained, and KiwiKaki is in a great position right now. He's got stalkers to make sure that these Zerglings will not be able to bust through, and even if TLO gets roaches, he's going to be hard pressed to break out of this double pylon ramp, especially with stalkers in the back as well. I think that TLO is he's in a very very bad position. You guys can see now KiwiKaki has plenty of choices he can go with. He can go with, oh, he looks like he's going with 4 warp gate pressure. I was gonna say he could go with a fast expand, he could go with air tech, he could go with fast DT tech for all he cares, but it looks like he is gonna be going with a quad 4 gate here. A very powerful opening for any Protoss player, especially when the Zerg does not have a natural expansion to get that double income out of. TLO is going to have to defend a 4 gate, and I don't even think TLO realizes what's coming. No, he does not, as the two finishing warp gates start to morph out. And now KiwiKaki is going to just make a ton of Stalkers and Zealots, and soon he's going to break through his own pylons and finish this game. I don't see any way for TLO to get back into this. He's trying to get Roach Speed out, but this is just an enormous army waiting at his front door. 47 under 53, and that advantage is going to continue to grow in favor of KiwiKaki as he's got better economy and better army management as well. We can also see that TLO is trying to make something out of this situation. He's trying to get Burrow as well as Glio Reconstitution. If he can get Tunneling Claws, that might help him out a little bit, but keep in mind Roaches cannot burrow underneath buildings all the same. So I'm not exactly sure what TLO is trying to do right here. He's just dancing with his Roaches, but all this is doing is revealing how many Roaches he has, and that's just telling KiwiKaki, okay, all I have to do is make some more sentries and some more Stalkers, and I'll be able to hold off the Zerg as he stays contained inside this one base. And all the same, KiwiKaki's also getting his Nexus down, so he's looking very strong right now. 4 gate into Nexus, and now one of the pylons goes down, but I don't think KiwiKaki's gonna want to re-erect this. I think he's very safe right now. I think he can afford to stay in this position. In fact, he might even think about pushing up at sometime very soon. There goes the force field there, and TLO will have his burrow, but he does not have Tunneling Claws. And oh my goodness, some of the Roaches getting hit right there. The Roaches cannot be seen by the Protoss right now, but the Roaches are unable to move underground because they do not have the Tunneling Claws upgrade. There goes another force field, catching a couple of Roaches out of position, and TLO cannot afford to lose these Roaches. He's losing time. He needs to get his natural expansion down, and the Protoss player really is the one who's looking really good. He's even getting a robotics facility, so no doubt gonna see a quick obs and then possibly some immortals to deal with the Roaches and their burrow technology. But really, KiwiKaki is just waiting and waiting. Look at this, he's even making 3 photon cannons at the front, realizing that soon he's going to be forced to fall back as the Zerg forces continue to grow larger and larger. He will have to fall back, but he will be able to fall back to these protective triple photon cannons. And really, there's not much that TLO is going to be able to do. This is so annoying as a Zerg. Tunneling Claws is just about to finish, but TLO is still on 1 base, and a 1 base Zerg is really a Zerg that's starved of gas, doesn't have the resources to make a large army. And we can see that KiwiKaki continuing to reinforce. The longer this goes on, there we go, the burrow finally finishing, and now these Roaches might be able to make something happen if they pop up underneath these Stalkers. Oh, but the obs coming out detects the Roaches, and another force field gets laid down, so the Zerglings are not going to be able to run out of here. But it looks like there were enough Roaches from TLO to force the retreat from KiwiKaki, and now this is the tough position that TLO's in. Does he try to get a hatchery down and play catch up, or does he try to go an all-out bust right now? His production tab showing 3 Roaches, so it's seeming like he's gonna try to bust through and end the game right now, but with all of these cannons, 2 more on the way and an immortal as well, I don't think it's going to work out for TLO. Although, oh my goodness, if he can pick off this pylon, he might be able to unpower. Nope, not unpowering any buildings whatsoever. We can see TLO is getting a hatchery on the minimap. So this is not an all-in without a backup plan, but honestly, TLO knows he's really far behind. He has to make something happen. 42 Harvesters over 25, coming in with all the Roaches and Lings. Great force field from all these sentries right here, and that is going to force TLO to unburrow, walk away from the Protoss force fields, and then regroup and try to fight again. But now with the Immortal leading the charge, it is just pounding these Roaches into oblivion, and the Roaches are going to be forced to fall back. And unfortunately for TLO, he just doesn't have a large enough army to deal with this. The one trick he has up his sleeve is the burrow, which regenerates roaches very, very quickly and allows roaches to outmaneuver the force fields, because roaches, when they're burrowed, can go underneath force fields, but I don't think it's going to be enough, not with a second Immortal on the way. Immortals just, they go boom, boom, and the roaches fall almost instantly. It's quite the counter unit, and here we go, TLO trying to get some kind of advantage from the low ground. But unfortunately, roaches are not siege tanks. If these things could siege up, then the Zerg would be in a great position right now. But that's not the case. TLO trying to resaturate. He's currently 26 harvesters under 53. And, well, if he manages to win this game, he is going to be the miracle boy. It's going to be definitely a tough road ahead of him, as he's down by almost half the amount of harvesters that KiwiKaki has. And here we go, KiwiKaki trying to push out right now. We can see TLO doesn't even have speed for his Zerglings yet. I thought for sure he had speed a long time ago, but he's still playing catch up. He's been forced to use all of his economy to make that army to push out and break out and get that natural expansion down, and now he's finally got the natural, but he doesn't even have enough drones to saturate. He has map control, but sooner rather than later, I think the Protoss player is going to push out and end this game. There goes KiwiKaki laying down some great force fields. TLO using Bro to get out of harm's way, but the Observer catches these roaches as they try to run away, and several roaches going down as a result. We can see the army size 131 to 75. Units lost greatly in favor of KiwiKaki, 17 compared to 59. And we can see now KiwiKaki starting to make that push of death. He's got so many stalkers, so many zealots and sentries and immortals. This is looking to be a very dangerous position for TLO. He has some of those infestors, but the infestors go down instantly, and TLO GG's out of the game, realizing how far behind he was as the Protoss forces push out. So great game right there from both these players, and especially good from KiwiKaki, choosing this map, realizing that all he had to do was fend off the early Zerg aggression, and then he would be in a golden position to win this game. So, great play right there. It is currently 1-1 in this series between TLO and KiwiKaki, and we are going to be moving on to game number 3. Hope you guys stay tuned, and HD going to be signing out.